Hello, Aries. How are you? Happy April 1st. Somehow we finally made it out of March. Feels endless. And today is the 1st of April. So I haven't been doing the weeklies because it feels, like I think we pretty much know we're going to be doing for the week. So, but I'm just kind of taking it as it comes, one day at a time. So I thought I would start with the first half of April. And I'm going to take 3 cards here for advice for you for the end. We'll take a look at them. These are a little bit longer to read, so I might do a timestamp on them. But, the timing of... So, hold on. Let me start, please. Can I get 3 cards face down for Aries advice for the beginning of April 2020. Okay, so I was looking at some of the planetary movements that are going on right now and what we can sort of expect in the first half of April. And the timing of this year is really weird. It's like a lot happening at once and then very long periods of stagnation, right? So we had this sort of very quick beginning to January where all the planets were direct, and then bam, we get hit with Pisces, with Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Now Venus, and then we have lots of planetary shifts. In the last couple of days, we've had Saturn go into Aquarius, so that's a major shift. So there's a whole bunch of brand new energy that we haven't felt in 28 years, right? So for some people, 20 some odd years. Some people will never have experienced this Saturn in Aquarius before. So that's a whole new rush of energy that we're trying to get our fingers on. At the same time, Mars is in Aquarius as well. Mars and Saturn on top of each other. It's like being very focused. Saturn sort of makes Mars very focused. It can feel a little bit oppressive depending on your relationship to Saturn. It can also give you a tremendous amount of drive and energy to get things done that need to be done. So if these last couple of days, Moon is also in Cancer right now. So if you're feeling super emo right now, that's because the Moon is in Cancer. Mars and Saturn in conjunction can also feel a little bit serious, like very serious. Not so much oppressive, but very serious. Now, Mercury is out of its shadow finally, and so that's new energy for us too now. As of I think it was the 29th, Mercury moved out of its shadow. It will be moving into Aries on April 11th, so that's a new rush of energy. Venus is moving into Gemini on the 3rd of April. She is going to, however, be staying in Gemini until August. So that's what I mean. There's like these moments of very concentrated pushes forward. Is that a word? Yeah, pushes. Concentrated push forward. And then there's an area that's going to be very stagnant for a long time. And when she goes direct, or when she clears her retrograde, then Mars will start his towards the end of the year. So this is a very big like stop-start energy. Now, the nodes will also be moving into Gemini at the beginning of May. So what that says is that there's going to be a lot of attention on the Gemini house, on the Gemini sign. Gemini rules your immediate neighborhood, right? Your brothers and sisters, your community, your early childhood. It's short communications, a little bit gossipy, but it's the kind of like the lower form of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about long travel, then Gemini, sorry, I was about to say it in Italian. Then Gemini is about short-term travel. So staying in your community, focusing on your community, your neighbors, talking to your neighbors. So I think we're going to see, and obviously as a result of the lockdowns and whatnot, we're going to see a lot of attention on our immediate community and not so much interest in the global picture. There's South Node going through the Sagittarius, so I have a feeling that the globalism is going to take a knock. But anyway, let's get to, now I'm using my Dutch deck. So I'm going to have to pause this for a second once I pull the card to see what it means. So let's get started. What overall energy for Aries? Okay, so I'll show it to you, and then I'm going to put it on pause. That is a 17, so it's an 8. So it's an actual abundance card, but give me 1 second. Okay, so very interesting, and I'm going to read it here from this card is called the Card of Treasures. And it says, what was previously hidden from view, you can now see. Many treasures and gifts await you. This is your time of discovery. You have special and unique skills, excuse me, which you have hidden so far like a pearl in an oyster. Now it is happening. Stay grounded and clear. The spiral in the picture tells you that the universal energies are working with you to help you discover what's inside. Understand, however, that once you have fully discovered these gifts, you will be asked to use them in service to others on our planet. So that's quite interesting, especially if we consider what's going on now. I know a lot of people in this moment are sort of discovering different sides to themselves, you know, perhaps being at home, you're cooking more, or you're rediscovering your family, or you found a way to tap into some sort of online consulting, or you can do, you know, so there's different things that are coming to light from underneath, coming to light, now visible, that were not before, right? And this is sort of the, I want to say the silver lining to the cloud. And that's why I invite anyone I talk to in this moment. It's, you know, we can be as scared as we want to. It's better if we focus the energy on something constructive. You know, so I'd always write that book if I had some time. Well, now you have some time. I'd always do the, you know, so it's like, given this time abundance that some of us have on our hands now, what discoveries are coming out as a result, you know? So it's like, oh, well, you know what? I lost that job, but I actually really hated that job. I've always wanted to do. The thing that's interesting is that in these moments of, well, you know, they're tower moments. Actually, our brain is more open to creating new habits, right? So new habits, even in terms of like, we're all going to have dinner at 6 o'clock, or before we go to bed, we're going to say 10 things we're grateful for. So this is a really good moment to put into practice habits that you keep meaning to install, but can't for some reason or another, because the old ones are already ingrained. You know, when our routines get sort of blown up, our brain is desperate for a new routine. So if you, this is the challenge energy, if you work at it, now is a really terrific time to teach yourself some new habits or get into new routines with your time. So, you know, in the chaos, to try and find the opportunity. Okay, so this is the 6 of Pentacles. So compromise, putting things back into balance. And so, you know, it's like there's, you may feel on your knees, you may feel like you're giving too much. So the question is really how to, as we sort of discover these gifts also, how to bring our time into balance, how to bring our energies into balance, how to balance out what we want with what we need. How much time are we giving to this? How much time do we want to give to this? You know, so these, because both of these have sort of a theme of the dark and light and the duo. So bringing these energies into balance right now. And it's interesting also because I was just thinking of the twins, right? And here's the set of the twins. So I think Venus may actually, as she moves into Gemini and stays there for an eternity, may be really giving us an idea of, let's say, the poles of things that are that we're curious about. Like I'm curious about A and I'm curious about B. and how to bring those into balance, right? How to not make them one bigger than the other, but to make them twins, literally. What's the wisdom here for Aries for April? Okay. So this is the message in the bottle. It's in the reverse position. So let me just read that real quick. I know what it means when it's upright. Okay. So, okay, interesting. Are you refusing to acknowledge the signs because you want things as you want them? Red flags are not pretty decorations for you to admire. They are warning you for a reason. If something doesn't sit right with you, trouble could be hiding in the bushes. Don't ignore the signs. Spirit always has your best interests at heart and will draw your attention to what you are overlooking. Okay, so that's interesting. So, you know, in a compromise, there's sort of two parties who agree, who exchange information, who negotiate to bring things into balance. And here we have information coming up from underneath, things that were hidden before, to treasures that were hidden before to us, which look like they're going to be in the form of information, surging up so that we can finally take a look at them. Now, so what this says to me is that some of us may not be paying attention to this information that's coming up. We may not be allowing this information to bring us into balance. And that was kind of like what I said at the beginning. You know, it's like you can pay as much negative attention as you like to the current situation, but that's not helpful. It's kind of like a seek the light thing. So that's sort of what this tells me, is that if the scales are too out of balance, you're putting too much information, time, energy, attention into one aspect right now, that it's time to bring things into balance, right? And that can be pretty much about anything. If there's a negotiation going on, if there's difficulties, I know it's hard for people who are at home with their families. Sometimes that can be hard. But also like working on, so paying attention to the signs that things are out of balance, paying attention to the things coming up from underneath, because in those things that are coming up from underneath is the light, or the sort of the path on the way out of it, and learning how to sort of bring these two elements into balance. You know, so it's like once you get this information, it's like, okay, well then what do I do with it? It can't be an either or situation. It has to sort of be a compromise for the time being. Now let's look at this here. This, you know, to me, this is very much about the win-win, right? So paying attention to the truth in a situation, not ignoring the dark or the light, and finding solutions that are win-win for everybody. That you get something, so do the other people, that this isn't a time for winners and losers. This isn't a time for yes or no. It's a time to pay attention to all the aspects of whatever's going on, not just the bad, not just the good, and work on both, bringing both into balance. You know, so to sort of honor what's coming up from underneath and to give it equal space in everything else. Now, so I wanted this for the energy coming. Oh, interesting. So remember, this was called the treasure card, and this card is called protecting treasure here. Now, this was the energy coming into the month. Let's take a look at that in the reversed position. This is a 15 and a 6. This is a 6. Hold on, sorry. Okay, so in the protect, so do Do you too easily give your loyalty to those who haven't earned it? This is a time to assess your personal loyalties and discern whether they're being returned in kind. That's that sort of balance and compromise, and paying attention to red flags. Some relationships are made for convenience, and some favor one side over the other. Vulnerability born of fear may lead to being taken advantage of. Perhaps the imbalance in your relationships is due to a conscious choice you've made. If so, make sure you aren't being hurt by the arrangement. If you believe you found some kind of protective refuge, be aware that there may be a price to pay. You may need to reassess whether you're compromising yourself, amazing, there it is, in any way to achieve what is an illusion of safety. And that, to me, that says so much also about this. Like, wherever you're giving up that piece of yourself, which may be the gift, the talent, whatever's coming up from within you that you want, you may be sacrificing it for the needs of the other. And that's something that needs to be brought into balance here. Be true to your dream and remember that angels will bring you the right people. Oh, yeah, no, that's what I said. Sorry. So yes, whether you're compromising yourself in any way to achieve what is an illusion of safety, be true to your dream and remember that the angels will bring you the right people your way to further your path of your highest good. Remain cautious and be conscious of the give and take in all relationships and projects at this time. Don't give away the farm for a smile. So interesting. So any of you who are in like monetary negotiations right now, I can't tell you what to do, obviously, because I don't know your situations. But this says, like, careful not to undersell yourself just because of the circumstances. The other says to me, like, also, how can we sort of use these circumstances? How can we use our treasures? See how she's like hiding. She's protecting it, but she's hiding under the rainstorm. So it's like, how can we open up our treasures to share them with everyone else? And this kind of makes the same thing, that as it comes up from within you, be aware that whatever these gifts are that are coming to you, they may be monetary, they may be some information, it may be something that you want to do, that whatever that is that's coming up right now that you may not be paying attention to is actually your gift to humanity, right? The thing that you've been sort of sleeping on a little bit dormant is kind of knocking on the door and wants to be open. And whatever it is something that can help bring you into balance, also like into an emotional state of balance, perhaps into financial balance, because it's the Six of Pentacles. So let's see. This for the end of the month. So 15 here, interesting, comes up at 15 here. This one is the One Ring Circus, right? Which means trying to do everything by yourself. So interesting other level to this. So for those of you who are in this process or in this situation, like, no, I'm going to take care of everything on my own. There's a bunch of different stories here. If you are like, no, I'm going to take care of everything on my own, pay attention to the gifts that are being offered, perhaps not necessarily only from yourself. Is someone else trying to help you balance out your workload, balance out your emotions, balance out your finances? Because the One Ring Circus talks about having to do everything by yourself or insisting on staying on an island. And it really talks about the balance, that there's two people, the twins, bringing those both into a state of fairness, of justice, so that it's not just about the one. It's not necessarily about, and a lot of these look to me like, it's talking about isolating, right? Because the isolated. So this really speaks to sort of the sense of isolation, perhaps feeling out of touch at the same time. So if you are feeling isolated, reach out and connect with someone else, your neighbor, your brother, your You know, maybe like there's a time also perhaps for making up with other people from the past, reconciliations, bringing things into bringing past situations into balance, because this would be the third 6 that we have here. Okay, that didn't want to go that way. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so it's kind of like a bunch of isolated messages. Right, so here we are, another message, isolation, holding on to things, afraid, you know, kind of a position of fear and afraid to let go, protecting, you know, protecting one's treasures, not wanting to be open in this moment. 2 more cards, please, for the first half of April. 2 more cards, please. Okay, interesting. So as I said, reach out, new gifts, new passions, new ideas, new thoughts coming to you from this divine cloud of, you know, all the different fruits this could bring. So there is some sort of new, like I said, there's new energy coming in. It has to be, and this is, you know, the message in the bottle, it's like it's coming in, but you have to sort of pay attention to it and be aware of it, and be on the lookout for it, and not ignore it when it does come in, because it will help you bring your situation into balance. 1 more card, please, for Aries, first half of April. Oh, nice. Okay, so yeah, balance, clearly the message, right? Pouring a little into my cup, pouring a little into that cup. That this and temperance is patience, right? So it's less about facing the isolation like this and more about facing the isolation like this. Like theoretically, they're both in a state of balance, right? Although this guy here looks a lot like this one ring circus, right? Like, no, all mine, not going to get it up. This is kind of a moment of sharing what's in your cup, right? So really, sorry, I'm getting like so many things in my head at the same time. And this feeds very much into the last reading I did, which was, you know, that new moon in Aries, about the passions, finding the passion, finding what makes you passionate, finding what brings you emotionally into balance, and taking advantage of, you know, like I said, you can stay in the isolated feeling if you want to, but that's not the opportunity in this moment. The opportunity in this moment is to share, and is to pour what's in your cup into other people's cups, right? So, or just connecting with other people, like taking from theirs, giving from yours. So it's really a moment of exchange, about bringing yourself into a state of emotional balance and not getting into this, like, I want to say kind of like hoarder mentality. Like, no, I'm afraid, I'm going to just keep myself and like lock down. That this is really a time to explore your passions, explore your gifts that you have to bring to the world, how you can fill someone else's cup. Maybe it's, you know, posting videos of you baking things that other people don't know how to do, connecting with your own local neighborhood. Again, as I said, a lot of attention on the Gemini coming up, and the twins. So how do you focus on your immediate community? What can you bring? What in your passionate landscape can you bring to the community? What treasures do you have that you've been sitting on and holding on to, keeping for yourself? Which one of those could you possibly start pouring into some other people's cups? Not a lot, just a little bit, you know. We don't have to flood anything, just 1 cup at a time, taking things 1 step at a time. And remember that the other card said, the people, you will get the blessings you need, or the people that you need as you walk the path. And this is, you know, this is major arcana here. So this is a really divine protection with the guardian angel, that as this sort of sharing of where our cup runneth over, right? For some people, that may not be in a material sense. It may be in a spiritual sense. It may be in a, cook lesson sense, information sense. What do you have to share that can help bring the whole situation into balance? What are you not paying attention, or like where are you kind of shutting down and not paying attention to an opportunity that may be in front of you that can help bring you into balance? So I would say anytime you start getting into this like kind of super isolated, like, no, it's just me, I just have to protect myself, that's actually, we're being asked to go in the other direction, to share, to give, to compromise, right? To interact with others, to do what we can. Now, I'm going to get one last card of advice here. What energy, please, for... Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so giraffe spirit, see the big picture. And this talks about looking at things from a different perspective, seeing it from above, not looking at things from sort of isolated, protected point of view. But this is very much, and I was going to say this kind of Sagittarian, and this is the Sagittarian card. So taking that knowledge that we have already in us, perhaps from past lives, from past learning, especially as these nodes start moving into Sagittarius and Gemini, use our past experience, use all of our knowledge and our education, like life education, to really guide us through this moment now, and to look at from the big picture. This is also very Aquarius, extrapolating ourselves from the situation on the ground and being able to sort of fly at a different level, to be able to offer things at a different level. This is from the angel realm, right? So using our passions to sort of bring ourselves up to another level. Okay, 29, here we go. So giraffes stretch upward to reach the treetops and look down from a high vantage point. When giraffe spirit appears, it's a sign to observe from a higher view. In all aspects of your life, it's time to stretch your neck out and broaden your view. Open your eyes to what others need or are experiencing, and see the big picture you fit into. No matter how great your wisdom, knowledge, or experience, you don't want to overlook details and connections that will help you better understand yourself and your circumstances. So stretch yourself. That's very interesting. Like I said, remember, reach out to the people in your community, or to old friends, old family, childhood connections. It's somewhere in those details, somewhere in the reaching out, that the answer comes, right? That we get information that helps us not only heal the relationship, heal the world, but also brings some information about a gift the universe is trying to bring us. So it's really not an isolationist, ironically, using our isolation period to reach out and connect as much as possible, because in those connections, some information will be brought out from underneath that's going to give us a sense of the big picture, about what we're really passionate about, what we can want to offer in the future. This is remember, this is an Ace of Wands. So it's something new energy, new trees to plant, new ideas, things that make us happy. May take a long time to sort of come into fruition. Cup by cup, we fill that lake. But it is in sort of finding the balance, reaching out, connecting, compromising, patience, but there's two people involved in all of these. So look beyond what catches your attention at eye level, and know that not everything is as obvious as you might like it to be. Interesting. Spirit will bestow upon you a new perspective that might make all the difference. Interesting. So it's funny, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about how you talk to your brain, right? And if you ask, this was a trick I learned in work, actually, and then it was how I always managed to get around my legal department, because if you go to the lawyer in the company and you ask, can I do this? The answer is always no, because there's risks associated with everything. And since their job is theoretically to protect the company from any risks, their answer is always no. So early on, I realized that the way to get around the lawyers is not to ask them if you can or can't, because once they've said no, you kind of look like an asshole if you go ahead and do it anyway. But to ask them, what do I need to do to get this done? Like, how do I minimize the risks? And it turns out that neuroscientifically, this is actually a thing as well. That when you talk to your brain, if you ask your brain, can I do this, right? If you put it in yes or no terms, you're suggesting to your brain that something has to change. And brains do not like change. They like habits. They like things that are tested and true. If you say it's change, that means that there's so many variables that you can't predict for. And so it's better safe than sorry. And so the answer your brain will always give to you, or most times, depends on the character, obviously, but the immediate impulse for the brain anytime it gets proposed with a possible change is no thank you. If, however, you ask your own brain, if I wanted to do this, how would I go about doing it? You actually activate a different part of your brain, which is not the protective part. It's not the part that wants to curl up under the umbrella. It's the part actually that is able to imagine and has fantasies and can envision different things. So if you pose the question to yourself, not should I do this or should I not? The answer from your brain is always going to be you shouldn't. Like, don't change. Please don't change, because we don't know what could happen. If you say, what do I need to do? What would I need to put in place in order for me to be able to do this? Then you start activating a different set of mechanisms, and then you don't get a yes or no, you get a plan, right? And so I don't know if that's helpful. I thought it was not necessarily coincidental that I had that conversation yesterday, so I thought I would share it with you. Let's get into these here. So if you've picked this card, and I love these are really, really long. They're so I can't read them all. Because it'll just take forever and people will get bored to death. But I will try and read the key messages. So this is number 11, Archangel Gabriel and turquoise. And the message is safe to be seen. Now, and that's interesting, all talking about this protection, right? So let's here we go. Okay. So we bring you the gift of safety and being seen. Over lifetimes, you have loved the earth, returning again and again to serve humanity, liberate the human soul from fear, and spread a message of love. You have spoken truths, shared visibility. Sometimes you have felt misunderstood and vulnerable. You have been admired and loved, but at times also feared and attacked for the empowering message you bring to the world. In you, there is a memory of this, and although you wish to share your light with the world again, there are times when the thought of being seen doesn't feel safe. We are here to let you know that you are protected in divine grace. It is safe to open up to your inner knowledge and to share your message with the world. The light in you is stronger than fear. It's time to shine fearless and bright. Oh, what a beautiful message. Sorry, I'm just looking here to see what else I can glean from this. Okay, I'll read these first two paragraphs. They're nice. So old souls know only too well that fear will not hesitate to destroy love if given the chance. You must not let fear do this to you. You have a choice. Through the loving power of your forgiveness, you give yourself freedom from past pain, even pain from other lifetimes that isn't entirely clear to you, and the opportunity to begin afresh with fearless, vibrant, loving truth. You have many loving words to share and a higher consciousness to be. In your own way, in your own world, in your own relationships, you are a light bearer and a bringer of truth. Although you have had past experiences where this was not well received and sometimes resulted in abusive behavior towards you from those who were afraid of love, you have never closed off from your truth. You still know what you know. You may have become reluctant to share it so freely, but you cannot forget your inner wisdom. This oracle comes to you with a message. It is safe to be seen. In this lifetime, you are meant to be a spiritual leader of sorts, to bring through the light, peace, love, and guidance that others around you need. Don't be afraid of their reactions. Some will love you for what you do. Others might not understand or may resist. But in truth, you cannot be harmed. Okay. Very nice. So moving on to this one. So this is Goddess Ishtar and Astrophyllite, Daring Rebirth. These come with crystals. This is the crystal oracle. So if you have these crystals, they're calling to you. So let's see this one. Also, this is a number 11, this card. There's a 41, which is a 5, so that's a pivot moment. Okay, here we go. We bring you so this one here is, we bring you the empowerment of daring rebirth. The bold spirit in you claims the divine defiance of the phoenix. It refuses defeat at every turn. Nice. No matter who or what may seek to overpower your spirit, your peace, your loving heart, and your wild optimism, you shall triumph in a divine and daring rebirth. Do not limit yourself with expectations. I think I picked this card. Whether from another or your own mind, there is so much possible for you, a radically different and new you to become. Believe it, and so it shall be. It takes daring to imagine a new life. Boldness of spirit and willingness are needed to allow yourself to embrace and live that different life. You can be in this world as you choose to be. What an amazing sentence. The truth of you can have many different versions, some fearful, some free. There is so much that is possible for you to experience in this life. You have the light and power of a living sun inside of you. Rebirth is new life, a different you that is truthful, authentic. Sorry, I meant for that to be dramatic, but I lost my place. Where is it? Truthful, authentic, and yet more vibrant, radiant, vivid, and free. It is possible for you to have all of this. The requirement for rebirth, however, is the experience of shamanic death. This is not physical death, it is spiritual transformation. It requires that whatever is keeping you from living a happier, freer, more beautiful, joyful, and soul-satisfying life be sacrificed, be allowed to die, so you can be born anew. Ooh, that's a good one. That's kind of like this too, right? Like coming out of the dark into the light, the phoenix rising from the ashes. Very nice. And then this final one here is Angel Raziel and Pietersite. Yeah. I don't know that stone, I have to be honest. It's called Storm Wisdom. Okay, and this is a number 12. I'm pretty sure we can guess what this is going to say. Okay, so we bring you the gift of storm wisdom. This is the fierce, cleansing nature of divine compassion made manifest in the world. Storm wisdom thrills the spirit, for it understands that so much benefit and liberation will come from the process. Yet the mind may quake at the prospect of such little control over how your life events are unfolding at this time. What is happening during an experience of storm wisdom is that anything that has become stagnant or obstructing to your spiritual growth will be uprooted. Oh, interesting. So these are all really connected. You may find that the divine storm of transformation powering through your life creates a feeling of upheaval, creating chaos, uncertainty, and excitement. You may feel simultaneously liberated and exhilarated, whilst also wondering if everything is going to be okay. You must remember that you will only be asked to give up something in order to receive that which is far more beautiful and supportive of your sacred life journey. You must also remember that the cleansing power of the storm will revitalize you, bring you fresh energy and perspective to take forward in your journey, and is a divine blessing which will only bring good into your life. I'll read this other paragraph here. Whilst the mind often wants, and this is what I was talking about. So whilst the mind often wants to hold on and maintain the status quo, fearing change, the soul thrills at the prospect of joy, happiness, and fulfillment that growth brings. It is so devoted to the manifestation of divine love in the world that it is willing to go through growing pains to bring the inspiring, vitalizing life of the spirit into the beautiful form of the body. The soul knows that temporary discomfort can bring tremendous gains for the spiritual path, and ultimately far greater joy and pleasure in life for the body too. The mind may need reassurance from the heart that all will be well during these times of great change, and the wild blessing of storm wisdom is one such time. Okay, wow, pretty intense. I think I'm gonna, no extra words to add there. I thank you all so much for the people who've been writing me to check in. We are doing very well. I may do a separate update and just post it on the community board, so whoever wants it can have access to it, but whoever doesn't want it doesn't have to read it or doesn't have to see it. There was a really interesting investigative journalism piece here in Italy on this whole COVID thing for the past few months. And there's some interesting stuff that's coming out now that people are like having time to look at things, you know. Like I said, things come in really quickly this year. Like there's a tremendous amount of change in a very short period of time, followed by very long dull moments, and those dull moments are given for us to get back into balance and like be like, okay, now that I've got all this liquid up in my cup, now what do I do with it? All right, awesome. So wishing you a very peaceful as possible beginning of April. And you know, interesting, sorry, I just had another thought. You know, Easter is on the 12th. Easter is on the 12th. And that is a moment, also 12 here, that is a moment of rebirth, right? And ascending to different levels, moving outside of the physical body and into the spiritual body, taking one's place in the kingdom of heaven, right? Almost in a way that's miraculously. But in order to do that, something had to be lost, right? So these are all themes that are played out in what we experience as a culture, in the Catholic culture right now, about releasing Catholic Christian, about releasing one form in order to assume another form. Death and rebirth, that in death there can be new light, being willing to take one's place in the universe, even if it's not necessarily the place you thought it was going to be, right? Maybe you had something completely different in mind for yourself. I don't know. I'm going to leave this to myself. Never mind. So you may have had like a different idea of what was headed for you, and now it might be time to compromise on what that is, to accept these gifts that are coming up from you that may be different. You know, you may have been ignoring them, but they're there to take you out from here. You know, they're there to bring you this sort of new of energy from the divine. And then all under this sort of protective wings of higher energy. So that said, have a very peaceful beginning of April, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.